Welcome to Development Talks at South News. I'm Bill Miller. What is the status of some of the UN Millennium Development Goals to reduce abject poverty, to promote sustainable development, and promote universal primary school education? What is one country, Sao Tome and Principe, at the United Nations doing to help achieve these goals? My guest is going to bring us up to date on this very interesting country that's very involved in many of these issues. My guest today is His Excellency Ambassador Angelo Antonio Toriello. Ambassador Toriello is an Italian activist, a freelance investigative journalist, and diplomat who currently serves as Ambassador, Deputy Permanent Representative of the Mission of Sao Tome and Principe to the United Nations. Ambassador Toriello, welcome to South News.
It's a pleasure to be here. Not to tell you, I think you are used to hear that it is a pleasure, but it's really a pleasure. Thank you for inviting me.
My pleasure. Thank you. It's both of our pleasures. Great, Great to see you. And we're going to get into these issues, very important issues, in just a moment. Let's talk a little bit about Sao Tome and Principe. It's a small set of islands in the Gulf of Guinea, off the coast of Africa. Tell our viewers a little bit about Sao Tome and Principe. What are some of your major industries? What are some of and we'll get into the issues at the UN.
Yeah, as you know, in fact, allow me to say, today, to have information, it's very easy. You just click on internet, on iPad, you have all the information. That's why sometimes I'm a little bit hesitant to talk about these things, because those are information that you can find on the net. But anyway, I'm here to tell you, yes, it's a small two-island country. Very nice because it's pristine, pure, has been left, let's say, at such of a natural ambience that has been created around, just to keep the so-called sex, drug, and rock and roll away, in the sense that the country policy is not strict, but very particular. They are trying to keep the country pure, untouched. So you will find really a wonderful island. People, they are wonderful. Though it's a small island, two small islands, and we are talking about almost 250,000 people, but very available, very welcoming. I may say that they are a bit different from different kind of other African states, because they have this quality of being really available. They don't take in them anything from the past based on history kind of situation. So they are very welcoming.
Sounds very interesting. I'll have to visit someday. I'm looking forward to that. Well, let's talk about some of the Millennium Development Goals. I mentioned in the opening there were 8 UN Millennium Development Goals: to reduce abject poverty by 50%, to promote universal primary school education, to empower women, to promote sustainable development. Which of these 8, perhaps all 8, are you focusing on in your country to work towards to achieve by 2015?
It is a vast subject, what I call part of the culture, part of the notion, but nothing essential for me. Let me be frank. Yes, I will talk because, of course, maybe it could be of interest of somebody, but before than that, I always say that we should take care about really what is the human problem. And then we can talk about anything else in the sense, which is the sense of talking about Millennium Development Goals when we don't have a structure that is based on human value, is based only on materialistic value. And we cannot deny that all the human system is based on this value. We don't take care about really the value of a human being. We take care before about the value of the necessity as a materialistic asset. What about the human part? Exactly. So of course, my part here is trying to push that human part, what I normally say, forgotten by the diplomacy, and to promote main thing is education, because the education is the key on which you can base the development. If there is no education, what we are talking about? We are talking about big things, but there is no information, there is no education. And when I talk about education, it's not only information and culture, it's to transfer values.
Exactly. How are you doing that at the United Nations? ask the representative of Sao Tome and Principe. Are you involved in various committees? Are you working through other groups? How are you doing that?
Yes, of course, committees, group, and I've appointed few advisors, external advisors to the permanent mission, which they have capacity and qualification for to take care about those issues. So even if I cannot attend all, because it's a small mission hours, so at least they can brief me attending it, and we try to summarize what is really the need of the country, in this case that I'm representing. And let me say that in the end, it's not only Sao Tome, it's something that is global. But of course, we do our part as a small country. But I would like it to put as more in a global view.
Now, along the way, you developed a group or worked with a group, United Beings. What exactly is United Beings, and what did you do with them?
Yeah, United Beings was part of a moment that where I was feeling that all we were connected, and because there is this awareness about animals and things, came up more vehemently. So I said, why to make the difference only united human beings? Let be united beings. And then, being so involved in science, because I have some quantum physics background, knowing that we accept the fact that there are different reality, parallel realities. So I said, beings, we leave it open, we never know tomorrow. Beings of other dimension that can come and they can join us. So I said, let's call it human beings. So it takes care about really the human part of us. As I always say again, forgotten in one another way. Yes, we say we are human, but if you think about, we have forgotten it because we are so much involved in our business, in our daily life, that we forgot it. So sometimes it's just a reminder. It is nothing new what I'm doing, just a reminder.
Now, we pulled off the YouTube a clip that you did. You gave a very passionate speech. I'm sure you've given more than one at the United Nations, but it was on the elimination of war. Yeah. And at the conclusion, it has this group that we've been talking about, United Beings, with doing a song, John Lennon's iconic Imagine, or part of it, not all of it.
Of course.
Exactly. But we're going to run about 1 minute, 29 seconds of it right now, and then we will come back and we will talk about it in greater detail. So let's go to the video.
I conclude my speech now, Mr. President, by stating that as a person speaking in the name of many persons like me, we don't dream to have a good car, a big house, or a rich, mundane life, which is nothing wrong to long for it, once we have established a peaceful and wealthy global societal system. Our dream is about ending wars and coexisting in harmony in this very moment. In consideration of all this, therefore, peace should not remain just a cultural event or a diplomatic debate, but is about exercising our responsibility as sentient beings. Thank you, Mr. President.
أشكر ممثل سان تومي.
There will be an answer, let it be. You may say I'm a dreamer, but I'm not the only one. I hope someday you will join us, and the world will live as one.
That was very interesting, extremely interesting, and you have a passion when it comes to war and peace, no doubt about that. But in the speech, you were talking about that when we talk about the elimination of war, the promotion of peace, world peace, that it should not just be a cultural event or a debate at the United Nations or in a parliament or a member of Congress or wherever it might be, or a House of Congress, but we should be taking responsibility as human beings and working and investing ourselves. How do we take that responsibility? Are we taking that responsibility? And if we're not, how can we?
See, let me start with an example that is a say. It is a very well-known say. You cannot build a castle on the sand, because in one or another way it will collapse. So I always say the human system has been built on wrong values, which are passed for true values, authentic values which are not, according to me. That's why, according to me, we are in a sort of chaos. We are not able to find the solution because everything is built on and perverted and twisted values. So if everything is built on such distorted values, how we can expect to find a solution? So everything else is distorted. So we're talking about war. And that was my question to the president of the session. Do we really want to stop war, eliminate the war? Because it doesn't seem so. If you see, it's just a game of power, a game of speculation, exploitation, what I was saying in that speech. Because if you go to analyze this, how possible that human being cannot stop something if he really wants? Because we have proven that when we want something, we're able to stop it. So based on that, we really want to stop the war and all these kind of wrong affairs that comes with the war. There is really the willpower, the political willpower to stop it. Because if it's so, it's in contradiction.
Right. When you're talking about distorted values, I'm assuming we're talking about perhaps placing materialism as one of our overachieving goals that we all want to aspire. We all want to aspire to live better. We want modern comforts of home and that type of thing, to have an automobile or public transportation or air conditioning or whatever the case might be. But it also brings into mind, when you were talking, I thought of the vast inequity that we have today, especially in countries like the United States, between a small number of haves and a large, well, a very squeezed middle class and a very large number of have-nots. Are you talking about perhaps the economic systems that we're using today, that maybe we should look more towards being more of a egalitarian society as opposed to one that's sort of a rugged individualistic approach? It's every person for himself or herself. Is that what you have in mind?
Yeah, in fact, as you have said by your own, it's not just one thing, it's everything combined together which create a distorted system. It's not only economic system, because of course, the main thing, we are basing the human system, societal system, on what? On money. Let me very, poor on the language. After all, it's all about money, power. So until everything is based only on the money, how we expect that we can grow? Because nothing else has been taken care. In the end of the day, it's only money. So this is the point. It's not the only one thing, it's everything combined together, and mainly we are based, our system, societal system, on a virus, which I call the contradiction virus. Why? Because in one end we do something to build, to construct, and from another end we destroy. So which is the sense? Which is the sense of sending people on the moon, or maybe now we are going far away the moon, and then we have problem on the earth. Which is the sense? So I say, let's before take care of our problem here, and then let's enjoy, because there's nothing wrong, to long for humanity. I would say for a good life, materialistic good life. Nothing wrong, but it's wrong if we don't take care of others that they are not having this possibility to have a good life.
And we see governments today cutting back. They're going into a period of austerity. You see that they're cutting social programs to develop infrastructure, to help people provide potable water, to take care of health problems. We see defense budgets going up in many cases. The nations of the world now spend, I think, about $1.8 trillion, trillion, not billion, trillion, per year on armaments to basically conduct war. Now, many to defend themselves, obviously, but some to be the aggressors in some cases. Do you think that it would be a better allocation maybe to move part of that 1.8 trillion, like about $1 trillion of it, over into the human services aspects, into the social service area, to help people to improve their lives?
Absolutely. I think that each of us here who has some common sense will understand that, of course, we should invest on our humanity. That's what I call, and less on diplomatic or politic kind of affair, which are righteous part of it. Of course, I don't deny it, because our societal system is formed like this. So it's okay, but not enough. We have to go beyond that. We have to make sure that before the human needs have to be taken care, and then anything else. There is no use to spend such million for armament or whatever it is, and then after human beings they are dying because for starvation. Today, starvation still. I mean, can you imagine in 2014, where we throw and we waste money in any directions, and we have people still dying for starvation? I mean, this is not a contradiction. For me, it's a virus, because it goes very silently inside the social system, and you see what it's doing, this virus. We have to take care about this contradiction, because there's no use that we build something in one way and then we destroy.
Destroy it, exactly. And there are many areas that we are overlooking, and one that comes to mind is climate change. We see climate change is with us. The scientific evidence is just incontrovertible. That is there, it's happening. You're from a small island developing state. Sao Tome and Principe is, you said, 2 islands. How adversely affected is your country by climate change, by the melting of the glaciers, the rising the sea levels, and what are you doing to try to bring this to the attention of people, large, pretty much the industrialized countries that are creating the majority of the climate change? Yes. But what are you doing in this area?
Yeah, I have to say that Sao Tome, fortunately, has not been affected so much in this sense. Yes, of course, there are variations. Everybody can feel it. Anybody can, touch it. But I have to say that we have been lucky in this way, because the fact that we have kept the countries in a let's say, as much as possible natural way, where there is not too much industrial development, of course we have a sort of protection, which has allowed us to be quiet in a good position right there, but doesn't mean that we are not taking care. And of course, like every country, we are participating to those events, these conferences, in order that we can find a scientific solution to slow down this process of the climate difficulty.
Exactly. And this is something that will affect it is affecting every country in the world, and there's no way that we can get away from climate change, because we all live on planet Earth. But this has really been very interesting, and Your Excellency, Ambassador Toriello, I want to thank you so very much for a very interesting and a very informative program.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you so much to you. Thank you.
Thank you for joining us on Development Talks at South South News. I'm Bill Miller.